The sun hit hard in Carthage. By dawn the streets were already loud, hooves clattering, traders shouting, flies buzzing over yesterday's scraps. As a street vendor, you fought for space, for breath, for every coin. You hawked olives or fish or flatbread, dodging soldiers, thieves and city taxmen with hungry eyes. Rain ruined your stock. A slow day meant no dinner. Priests walked past in fine robes. Nobles bartered from shade. But you stood barefoot on hot stone, hoping someone noticed your stall before the next fight broke out. In Carthage, the marketplace fed you or crushed you. As dawn's first light begins to creep over the horizon, let us journey into the heart of ancient Carthage. The city hums quietly with potential, a stark contrast to the bustling chaos soon to unfold. Here, the life of a street vendor begins long before the sun heats the stones and the powerful rouse from slumber. Even in the murky pre-dawn light, the air is thick with anticipation, and a sense of urgency hangs over the vendors as they move. For these souls, time is a precious currency, each passing moment ticking against the chance for a prime market space, vital for the day's survival. Navigating through Carthage's damp, uneven streets, the vendor's cart cuts a path, its well-worn wheels whispering along stone trails marked by countless similar journeys. Each creak, each groan of the cart becomes a symphony of endurance, a testament to knights devoted to the relentless race to the marketplace. Other vendors join in this nocturnal ballet, wooden carts forming a trail of determination across Carthage's lifeblood arteries. Together they create a cadence, a rhythmic prelude to the commerce of the sleeping city, a reminder of the unseen labour that supports its economic heart. Approaching the city's formidable gates, anticipation mounts. The gates stand as silent sentinels, witnesses to countless dawns, and the hopes pinned on securing the best spots within the market. The first blush of sunlight spills across them, illuminating a tableau of competition, much like a battlefield. Vendors jostle with fierce intent, sharp elbows and sharper tongues as weapons in this competitive dance. Rivalries pulse just beneath the surface, bubbling over as yesterday's friendships dissolve into today's skirmishes for opportunity. The sky above, changing from black to hues of dawn, mirrors the messy tangle of eager ambition below. Locked in this struggle, the certainty of securing a prime corner is fleeting. Yet, it is this struggle which defines the pre-dawn ritual, a blend of strategy and necessity ingrained into Carthage's very fabric. Each move calculated not only by spatial advantage, but to outshine rivals in a sea of relentless negotiation and barter, where temporary alliances are made and broken before the market properly awakens. Amidst the hurried exchanges, laughter punctuates the air, an ironic harmony to the discord of competition, a nod to human tenacity. As daybreak blooms fully, the melody of preparation gives way to the reality of conquest. Vendors finally settle, breaths mingling in the cool morning air, a stolen sigh of relief, a brief pause before the city's daily life floods their stalls. In these still moments, one feels both triumph and foreboding, where every inch secured can mean sustenance today and survival tomorrow. This hard-won territory, now claimed, becomes a potent space where dreams and livelihoods intertwine. Yet even these battles one bear shadows of unpredictability. Nature, with its whimsical hand, shifts potential victories into trials. A sudden breeze or an unexpected shower can unravel strategic gains, leaving vendors exposed to elemental caprice. But facing these uncertainties is a badge every vendor wears with stoic grace. Wrapped wares sway under the erratic winds, reflections of the resolve etched on the faces of those standing firm against the day's yet unknown trials. In the marketplace, social dynamics swirl beneath the surface transactions. It's a living entity, vibrant with the rhythms of human interaction, where social roles and class distinctions unfold in hushed theatre. Vendors and customers engage in this animated tapestry, a microcosm of Carthaginian life playing out against the ever-watchful urban backdrop. Vendors of the lower classes dance this delicate ballet within the hierarchies of privilege, their navigation's subtle nods towards survival. Here, genuine connections are both rare and treasured, alliances woven through gestures rather than coin, often holding more value than goods themselves. The pulse of the market beats steadily in the passage of time, a constant in the vendor's life, both adversary and ally. Each sunrise heralds a new opportunity, entwined with the endless grind, as much a curse as a gift. The vendors, guardians of traditions honed over generations, stand as stewards of this legacy. Their daily rituals, steeped in heritage, echo the enduring spirit of a city built on commerce and chance. As they take their places, the first shafts of sunlight cast long shadows over the waking city. In this poised anticipation lies the resolve that powers Carthage, vendors embodying its vibrant spirit. With the plaza ready and determined faces set, their day truly begins, each one awaiting that first sale, each moment a canvas of possibility. Against the backdrop of history, vendors stand poised, not just to seize the day, but to weave their own stories into the vast tapestry of Carthage's bustling narrative. For these individuals, resilience is both skill and instinct, a survival tool crafted by necessity. Here, they string together days like beads, each one a challenge, against which their mettle is tested by the whims of time and fortune. With an unyielding spirit, they breathe life into the city, every dawn a witness to their undeterred resolve, sculpting an indelible mark on the annals of history, their tenacity echoing like whispers in the timeless corridors of Carthage itself. In the pre-dawn haze, when the gates of Carthage swing open, the city greets you with an assault on your senses. The air is thick, laden with the heady mix of decomposing fish, the sweet tang of sweat, and the earthy pungency of donkey droppings. This olfactory tapestry is at once oppressive and oddly comforting, a sure sign that you are alive and ready to navigate another day in this bustling ancient metropolis. The cobblestones underfoot remain sticky from the night's filth, a sludgy concoction of spilled wine, animal waste, and perhaps the remnants of yesterday's human excesses. The market's other vendors, as seasoned as you are in this relentless routine, pause only briefly, recalibrating themselves to the overwhelming sensory barrage before diving into the day's trade with weary determination. No matter how many mornings you endure, this initial wave of odours always takes you by surprise, a vivid reminder of the market as a living organism. To the uninitiated, these smells might prove repellent, even unbearable. But to you and your fellow traders, they are as natural as oxygen. This unique miasma symbolises livelihood, wrapped in grimy threads of daily survival amidst chaos. As fishmongers spill their pungent wares into the gutters, the gut-churning smell of fish guts mingles with the sweet citrusy zing of crushed lemons, their presence betrayed by the sticky evidence underfoot. Nearby, bakers establish their domain, taunting the senses with the aroma of freshly baked bread, cruelly highlighting the surrounding decay. Each breath is redolent with history, trade, and the sustenance it promises, weaving into the fabric of your life, binding you firmly to this city and its ancient rhythms. As the sun climbs higher, the marketplace erupts in a cacophony of sound that consumes the streets. Every vendor's shout meshes into a deafening symphony, an unending chorus of voices yearning to rise above the relentless din. As you call out your goods, your voice battles with the braying of donkeys, the clattering of pots, and the incessant chatter of patrons embroiled in the ritual of haggling. Here, communication transcends mere exchange. It becomes a proclamation of existence, a cry to be loudest in a sea of competition. Each shout is a calculated missile, launched to pierce the wall of sound that envelops the bazaar. Hawkers, jugglers, and beggars each vie for attention, their voices layering the soundscape. Even the animals contribute, their bleating, clucking, and lowing creating an orchestra of sorts. Overwhelming perhaps, but this resonance binds you to the city's vibrant heart, a living testament to its rich trade traditions. As the day drags on, the air fills with fine dust, suspended in the sunlit beams like an ancient spell. Cartwheels and sandals churn the earth, unearthing clouds of grit that settle into every pore and crease. The dust joins forces with the smoke from the bakers' ovens and smithies, a stinging blend that blurs vision and burns eyes, a gritty reminder of Carthage's endurance. The smoky tendrils drift continually through the streets, cloaking vendors like an unwelcome mantle, lacing every breath with its acrid embrace, while casting the marketplace in a haze that smudges the lines between traders and trade. But this too is your stage, the medium in which today's business must be conducted. Every inhalation serving as a reminder of survival. Such is life in Carthage. Smoke and dust as unwelcome, yet unavoidable companions on the ceaseless journey of existence. Navigating through the market's constant motion is an endless dance, a jostling ballet amid the streams of families, slaves, traders, and aristocrats, all flowing like restless rivers between the stalls. You bob and weave, anticipating movement and noise, a perpetual dance in the organised chaos of Carthaginian commerce. Each twist and turn through the streets demands precision, a careful choreography ensuring your cart's survival. Among the throng, the world feels both expansive and claustrophobic. People brush past, carrying stories in their hurried gestures, sometimes pausing to inspect your goods, other times swept away before deals are struck. Here, interactions are as much about gauging the crowd as peddling wares, where commerce thrives amid the dust and din. Life surges forward, each step propelling the ancient city in perpetual motion. Amid the press of familiar faces, each new one offers potential, an ally or competitor, a friend or foe. The market is a melting pot, every accent a promise of exotic lands or local gossip. Survival demands reading these strangers like changing skies, anticipating storms of different kinds. Some wander, eyes wide and curious. Outsiders to your world, they remind you Carthage is more than its daily grind, a tapestry embroidered with tales from distant lands. Strangers wander through, some lost, others awestruck. Observing, you become part anthropologist, part opportunist, discerning whom to approach, whom to ignore. With each encounter, your days blend with the familiar rhythms of survival and trade in this unpredictable tapestry. Within every transaction lies an unspoken code, the tales worn beneath the surface-level barter. Each negotiation bears nuances to be keenly observed, a dance of subtle gestures and unspoken histories. Here, judgment extends beyond your goods to scrutinise your very essence. Yet every purchase, every coin exchanged, reinforces your place within this rich tapestry. Beneath the surface pleasantries, power dynamics ripple through, a reminder that your standing is precarious, reinforced through each whispered syllable, and the veiled intents behind every deal. Here survival transcends goods and prices, grounded in the subtleties of ancient commerce, and the ever-present pulse of the market continues to define Carthage's enduring heartbeat. In the grey light of dawn, the wooden cart creaks ominously as it traverses the cobbled streets of ancient Carthage. Laden with amphorae of olive paste and heaps of dried fruit, the sheer weight is not just physical, it is the embodiment of livelihood teetering on the edge of calamity. Every morning begins with the same meticulous ritual. Jars are secured, goods are arranged, and the cart, your personal vessel through the turbulent waters of the market, lurches forward. Your journey is a daily gamble, each interaction a potential boon or devastating loss. Yet the cobblestones and bustling market chaos are not what truly haunt you. Lurking is the constant fear of being picked apart by the city's inquisitive eyes. Inspections loom at every corner. Officials linger, waiting to pounce on the slightest inconsistency. Are your documents in order? Are your weights precise? These are not idle questions, but the very essence of survival. Your days shadowed by these unrelenting worries. At the heart of this apprehension stands the tax collector. A fixture of the marketplace, these figures represent an unending shadow cast over every transaction. Their presence lingers long before they physically arrive, an omnipresent threat of further demands beyond the stipulated cut. Legal taxes supposedly support public festivals and city defences, but these official levies are not the ones churning the unease in your gut. The unspoken taxes, the sly siphoning of extra coins from each sale, are the unsettling reality you face in every handshake and freshly struck deal. As your first sale of figs survives the exchange, there they are with a casual confidence that belies their power. Tallies are made, ledgers flipped, their scrutiny more thorough than any sunlit inspection. Their eyes flicker calculatingly between your goods and your person, and faltering could invite a harsh response. The confiscation of your goods, or worse, a cessation of your livelihood altogether. Similarly, the accountability in weights and measures bears down on you. Each jar must reflect a precise truthfulness. A deviation is a breach of trust, marking you as deceitful. Such accusations carry dire consequences in Carthaginian law, a culture that demands unwavering fairness in trade practices. An imbalance in your weights can spread through the marketplace faster than news of a missed bribe, devastating your hard-earned reputation. Trade in Carthage is more than an exercise in commodity exchange. It requires navigating an intricate web of permits, a labyrinth designed to ensnare the careless and the desperate. These transactional papyri, the tangible assurance of your legal right to sell, are as ephemeral as a morning mist. The bureaucratic obstacle course is both frustrating and humbling. Magistrates' desks pile high with requests, applications returned for trivial errors, demanding another round through the bureaucratic maze. In this game of ink and parchment, vigilance is your only salvation. Confiscation, the dire spectre that haunts every vendor's dreams, is the unspoken penalty for failing to adhere to these myriad demands. Goods, entire livelihoods, disappear into storage rooms with a whispered decree that your stall or weights are somehow lacking. Neither precise adherence nor a respectful demeanour guarantees safety from this arbitrary enforcement, leaving vendors in a state of perpetual vigilance, wary of the shadowed figures weaving through morning market crowds. The compliance to this demanding structure exacts its toll. The taxes, the meticulous measures, the licenses. Each component carves into your profit, reducing survival from thriving to mere subsistence. Every calculation must anticipate the possibility of these demands, factored into pricing with scant margin for error, a delicate balance of appeasing authority while clinging to survival. The ever-present fear, embedded in Carthage's bureaucratic layers, demands constant vigilance. With every exchange, the potential for oversight hovers. A mistake could unspool a day or more of hard-fought business. This perpetual state of alertness ensures exhaustion, stealing focus from ambition, substituting it with a drive towards mere persistence. Beyond bureaucratic demons, unseen threats remain. Rivals with covetous eyes linger, awaiting your misstep to convert your losses into their gains. Informants, cloaked within the guise of peers, whisper dangerous secrets that could unravel your standing. Companionship in the market thrives amidst this invisible competition, a delicate balance where camaraderie is as fleeting as the morning mist. Within the marketplace's rigid regulations lies the artful dance of bartering. Here, negotiation achieves significance beyond mere dollars and cents. It embodies tradition, laying bare Carthaginian values where each deal reflects a dance of concessions, weaving personal wit with expectations long held. Successes in these negotiations build bonds, casting ripples through the culture-rich tapestry of market activities. Still, beneath these burdens lies resilience. Carthaginian vendors, like the market stones they tread upon, endure through grit and adaptability. Within their struggle is perseverance, unmatched, a resolve sharpened against testing sands of law and expectation. Each dawn awakens determination anew, their spirits unbowed against the shadowy livery of authority. The heart of Carthage beats within this tenacity, embodied by those who trade not just in goods but in dreams and survival. In the vibrant markets of ancient Carthage, haggling was an art, a theatrical dance of words and gestures that dictated the flow of daily life. Vendors and buyers engaged in this intricate ritual, seeking gains in an atmosphere charged with tension and anticipation. Those unacquainted with the art form might see it as tedious or aggravating, but for seasoned vendors it was a dance of survival and reputation. With every transaction, their standing could be fortified or tarnished as they played this verbal chess game, each trying to outwit the other. It wasn't merely about economics. Haggling was a cultural expression ingrained in Carthaginian life. Buyers, often from humble origins, saw it as a demonstration of acumen and resilience. For vendors, the stakes were even higher. Success was as dependent on charm and persuasion as it was on the quality of their goods. The marketplace buzzed with dynamic energy, teetering on the edge of theatrics. Each vendor became a performer on this bustling stage, each buyer both an observer and actor in their unique ensemble. In this chaos, success relied as much on personality as on strategy. Vendors had to equip themselves with persuasive language, feigned indifference, and a keen sense of observation. They learned to read customers, differentiating the serious from the fickle. Adjustments were made like a strategist at war, each olive described as the finest, each fabric the most durable. These embellishments tipping the balance in their favour. Urgency was another tool in the vendor's arsenal. The spectre of scarcity was called upon to entice buyers, whether through tales of freshly caught fish or limited exotic dyes. Buyers were hurried towards making purchases with the implication that this was a fleeting opportunity. Quick, unrehearsed deadlines were drawn, barely real, but effective nonetheless. These deft strategies could transform hesitant onlookers into eager buyers, as vendors maintained a thin line between exaggeration and deception, always considering the cost to their credibility. Buyers with practiced precision engaged in a thorough inspection, a ritual as old as trading itself. Every olive, every grain scrutinized for quality, while textiles were tested for resilience. Vendors knew the importance of first impressions, hence every product was displayed at its finest, each meticulously set to allure the wandering eye. Calmly facing nitpicky objections was essential, as buyers interrogated them with various queries. The markets echoed with expressive interactions, social engagements interwoven with commerce. Vendors and buyers employed humour, impatience and sly sarcasm in their dialogues. Here, the goal was to employ wit, to disarm rather than insult outright. It was a delicate ballet of words, swords drawn as tongues. The clever banter could shift the momentum dramatically, humour serving as an ally to ease the hard edges of negotiation. Yet not every negotiation ended in a sale, leaving vendors to grapple with failure and its aftermath. Unsold goods meant a double loss. Perishable items quickly withered under the relentless Mediterranean sun. To minimise waste was to secure a livelihood. A day without sales affected their pockets and their reputations. Word of faltering products or character could spread swiftly, demanding swift damage control through bartering or fleeting discount offers. The emotional toll of this relentless environment left vendors perpetually navigating stress. Each day was a test of endurance and patience, challenging them to haggle astutely and maintain resilience against market forces beyond their control. Emotional strength became a vital asset, honed through adapting to fluctuating strategies, diversifying wares, and adjusting pitches to persevere in the chaotic ebb and flow of market life. This bustling and haggling scene also reflected broader cultural dynamics. Bargaining revealed insights into social structures and roles within Carthaginian society. For the patrician, bargaining was sheer sport, while for the farmer, it was a lifeline. These interactions required vendors to be both merchants and cultural interpreters, adapting to the expected norms while ensuring their livelihood. Though emphasis often falls on the vendors, buyers wielded subtle power, playing a significant role and employing rehearsed tactics to gain the upper hand. They gauged vulnerability and wielded demands to disrupt vendor confidence. Collective buyer behaviour dictated market trends, subtly shifting prices and trade dynamics, demonstrating power lay as much in numbers as in individual cunning. As night descended, the market atmosphere transformed. The fervour of the morning cooled into a focused urgency by dusk. Vendors adjusted strategies, slashing prices, aware that unsold goods lurked ominously as potential losses. The dimming light pressured buyers into sealing deals. Though the day's chatter halted, the emotional charge endured, whispering tales of camaraderie as dusk settled. The Carthaginian market was embedded with irony, where each negotiation spoke to the precariousness of survival. Haggling, a symbol of continuity, was also a reminder of their fragile existence. Vendors shared more than transactions. Amid the grit and sweat, they wove networks of kinship and folklore that forged enduring bonds, transcending ages and lands, weaving a timeless human saga of resilience and endeavour. In the bustling, chaotic market of ancient Carthage, theft emerges not merely as an act of desperation, but as a grim art form, perfected by nimble fingers dressed in tattered garments, and swift feet hardened by dust and dirt. For the street vendor, every interaction becomes a dual negotiation, the delicate dance of selling goods while vigilantly guarding them. Children no older than 10 flit through the crowd like elusive spectres, their small hands as deceptive as they are swift. They expertly discern which vendors lack vigilance and which remain newcomers in the marketplace's silent battle. Even as you sell wine, your eyes and ears sharpen to the edge of a sword, knowing that even your fiercest glare cannot wholly deter the determined and the hungry from seeking an easy meal. Stealing, in this world, becomes a complex exchange of risks traded for morsels. Each vendor scans the surroundings, not just keeping watch over their own wares, but those of their neighbours, forming a fragile web of simultaneous condemnation and reluctant respect. Faces are imprinted in memory, and grudges accumulate over each lost olive or handful of grain. The chaotic sounds of the market, the braying animals, the cries of hawkers, the constant din of movement, serve both as a camouflage and a conundrum. While your wares define your livelihood, you can't help but cultivate a bitter empathy that occasionally tempers rage, for a thief reflects the vendor's own struggle, a shadow of a shared existence teetering on catastrophe's brink. In this intricate dance, slaves navigate the market like shadows tethered to their master's whims. They, too, search for moments of escape, sneaking a coin here, pocketing a fig there, For street vendors, when a slave pockets a coin, it's not just personal, it breaches trust and threatens livelihood. Yet, taking action poses a dangerous gamble. Striking a slave might incite the wrath of masters, entangling you in a legal quagmire where your right to self-defense is dwarfed by the power above. While personal honour and survival teeter on a knife's edge, accusing a slave weaves a thin fabric of equality that can unravel under the watchful eyes of those who control your fate. Every decision becomes a negotiation of reputation and justice, with silence often the safer choice, bitterness souring at the injustice unchallenged. To chase a thief through the market, despite the tangible loss, is a perilous decision. Pursuing a child who snares a few olives or steals a loaf of bread demands abandoning the stall, sacrificing closeness of profit for pride or vengeance. The chase burns precious minutes, lost to potential customers who might see your unattended stall as a sign of carelessness. Each pursuit opens you to judgment, from amused chortles to quiet disdain. Even if success crowns your efforts and the pilferer is caught, you reclaim more than just stolen goods. You assert self-worth in a community defined by survival. But every chase is a gamble, with victory fleeting amidst relentless waves of need. Meanwhile, Carthage's guards patrol with an imposing presence, their eyes not only monitoring thieves, but also vendettas fueled by desperation. Their judgment, unpredictable and often swayed by bribes, hovers like a spectre over each encounter. To beat a thief might resonate as justice in one view and violence in another, shift that could invite turmoil. The guards tasked with maintaining order wield authority with both empathy and arrogance. Striking back at a thief may result in punitive consequence, where your loss is compounded by the state's dissenting eye. Thus, every action carries a shadow of repercussion that reverberates through the heart of the market. Within this unforgiving tapestry, reputation serves as both armour and weapon. The currency exchanged with each coin is layered with trust, which theft threatens to unravel. Some vendors, deftly foiling thieves, are acclaimed as folk heroes. Their stories stand as deterrents in whispered market tales. Conversely, those subdued by theft silently erode their standing, taxed invisibly by suffering. Bolstering reputation trumps any physical defence against theft. Though wielding this sword requires precision, overusing it risks cleaving through goodwill, inviting further disrespect or isolation. Vendors learn the art of theft's intricacies, each stolen fig telling a tale of cunning, deceit and skill. Through shared stories, they decipher the market's covert language, turning every interaction into a recalibration of watchfulness. This communal lore becomes their defence, each whispered tip reinforcing a network against deceit woven into the market's bustle. In a world governed by clandestine agreements, some vendors enlist in the tangled drama of protection payments, a grim parody offering solace against thievery at a substantial cost. This arrangement invites vendors within the market's hierarchy, assured of safe standing while adding complexity to survival. The payments are an ironic gesture, seeking refuge from theft even as they undercut earnings and patience, revealing a murky dance of loyalty and complicit silence. Among the crowd, a vendor's vigilance becomes reflexive. This alertness shapes their interactions, every face a potential shadow with hidden intent. The chronic balance between skepticism and trust ebbs and flows, weaving through transactions. Scar tissue of constant watchfulness forms unseen, a silent bond forged through shared endurance and mutual understanding. For all this, vendors find humour in acknowledging theft's inevitability, turning encounters with naivete into stories for mirth. The camaraderie binds them, resilience rooted in the adaptability born from enduring losses, crafting stories into folklore of everyday triumph and folly. Vendors mature into steely entrepreneurs, translate dishonour into daytime entertainment, forming a resilient humour that softens what might otherwise unravel sanity amidst market's peculiar dance of abundance and scarcity. In ancient Carthage, where disorder and lawlessness dance, surviving becomes a strategic endeavour. Vendors, crafting survival within theft's current, navigate the chaos with deftness. Here, persistence becomes a lineage, fought within the thrumming market where each stolen grape or vanished coin becomes an unbroken thread in a lore shared from one hawker to another, shaping each new day against this enduring paradox. In the heart of ancient Carthage, the sun rises with an oppressive brilliance that blankets the bustling marketplace. Vendors scramble to claim their space, setting up stalls with a sense of urgency. The sun's merciless glare is both ally and adversary, marking the start of another grueling day while sapping their energy. The heat is suffocating, a constant reminder of the harsh environment they inhabit. Under wide-brimmed hats they shield themselves, but the sun's relentless rays reflect off the stone streets, creating an oven-like atmosphere that drains the very life from them. Sweat pours, fabrics cling, and dehydration hovers like a spectre, yet there's no time for reprieve. In this unforgiving dance with nature, vendors fight not just to keep pace with competitors, but to survive the very elements themselves. Shade, an elusive comfort, is highly prized yet rare in this crowded space. Makeshift shelters provide momentary relief, as pieces of fabric stretched taut offer scant protection from the sun's unyielding assault. Midday arrives with its punishing peak, turning simple tasks into monumental efforts while the air shimmers with relentless heat. The struggle isn't merely a battle for customers, it becomes a test of endurance against the merciless sun. One must adapt or risk watching the commerce of life slip away under the sun's cruel scrutiny. The goods themselves suffer, mirroring their vendors' plight. What begins as vibrant produce in the morning wilts and spoils by afternoon, under the sun's punishing gaze. Colours fade, textures turn to mush. Visual allure vanishes, complicating efforts to entice buyers. Merchants rotate their stock, attempting to extend the shelf life as temperatures climb. Strategic placement becomes key, showcasing the freshest items where they might catch a customer's eye. It's a never-ending race against time, demanding ingenuity and resilience to salvage what profits they can. Despite adaptation to the heat, vendors know well the sky's unpredictable nature. Sudden storms unleash chaos, transforming sun-baked alleys into muddy torrents in moments. Vendors scramble wildly, using cloaks to shield goods or stacking crates and jars hastily. Panicked shouts and the clattering of stalls bespeak the storm's fury. Rainwater seizes the market, casting goods adrift in currents of mud and debris, seeping into packages and dissolving the day's hopes alongside the rain. Yet the resilience of these merchants is not forged in isolation. Street vendors become adept at improvisation, crafting quick-to-assemble tarps for shelter, treated with oils to withstand downpours. The ingenuity extends beyond mere survival, becoming a badge of professionalism. Customers trust those who deftly manage chaos, recognizing their skill and experience. Such adaptability gains them a solid reputation. For in a market where trust is currency, a calm hand earns loyal patronage. In this theatre of commerce and survival, the ancient beliefs intertwine with daily toil. Rituals flourish, as vendors seek solace through offerings to gods believed to control the elements. Small shrines decorate the market, testaments to divine faith. Personal talismans, wrought from clay and inscribed with symbols, hang at every stall, believed to offer protection. Rituals in these uncertain lives provide a semblance of control, binding the community in shared superstition and hope. Rivalry persists, unfazed by elemental adversities, often exacerbated by the challenge itself. Competitors resort to cunning under desperation's shadow. Water sneakily spilled on a rival's goods, spoiling them in a ruthless bid for dominance. Yet among this strife, pockets of solidarity emerge. In severe conditions, vendors band together, offering aid against shared threats. They share shade, cover goods, creating silent pacts of mutual reciprocation. Such alliances remain valuable, an oasis of camaraderie in a cutthroat desert. These experiences foster resilience that is learned, not innate. Newcomers glean wisdom from weathered traders who share secrets from seasons of suffering. Advice on shelters, stall placement, or lessons learned from a sky darkening with ominous intent proves invaluable. Through observation, newcomers learn. Resilience isn't born from strength, but from adaptability and trust in community. As the sun sets, painting the market in golden dusk, the day's toils and triumphs linger in the cooling air. The vendors of Carthage, resilient and unyielding, echo the eternal dance with nature. Their lives, etched into the very stones of the market, showcase an enduring symbiosis with sun, storm, and human nature. Each dawn brings new hurdles, yet they rise with spirits seasoned by sun-baked days and stormy nights. In this grand historical tapestry, the vendors symbolise an indomitable human spirit, their stories rooted in the grit of survival. They teach that resilience lies not in opposition, but in acceptance and adaptation. Their strength honed in community among adversity. Against a sky marked by countless dawns and dusks, they stand as timeless figures, whispering ancient truths of courage, tenacity, and unyielding resolve. In ancient Carthage, The life of a street vendor was a constant battle against the unseen forces that governed the bustling market. Bribes were more than mere transactions. They were a dance, a delicate rhythm that required the nimblest of social acumen. To navigate their labyrinth, vendors transformed from simple merchants to master performers, reading the silent symphony of obligations and favours underlying their world. Inspectors, cloaked in bureaucratic power, held the keys to livelihoods. Whether a day ended in profit or ruin depended on reading their stoic expressions, discerning when a small gratuity would suffice, or when a more significant gesture was demanded. For vendors, bribing was more than just a financial necessity, it was art. Timing and delivery were everything. Each interaction was part of an intricate choreography, an unspoken language of nods and courtesies, exchanged like secret codes. A misstep could spell disaster, inspections discovering imaginary violations, fines depleting their hard-earned money, or worst, a confiscated cart, the lifeline of their existence. Under the inspector's watchful eyes, these merchants paid as much for peace of mind as for permits, an unending expense eating away at their slivers of profit. Life without physical records, built entirely on verbal agreements, thrived in a curious blend of trust and irony in an otherwise illicit network. Within the silent economy, inspectors, despite their power, were only human. They adhered to an unspoken code as old as the city's walls. Vendors knew which of them could be relied on through the cold winters, and who might crumble under too much pressure. While outsiders might find these relationships inscrutable, within this world, they represented an unsteady dance of power, compromise, and necessity. A nod or change in tone could mean the difference between survival and disaster. An ancient equilibrium existed, a vendor's burden accepted with quiet resignation, knowing resistance could court ruin. In the market, strategic relationships were gold. A well-placed bribe could shield against future turbulence, requiring vendors to possess not just cunning but patience. Goodwill could mean reduced penalties or whispered warnings before official action darkened their doors. These bonds, forged beneath the unrelenting sun and among the echoing clatter of markets, provided a crucial edge in the struggle to stay afloat in a city where mere survival was an achievement. Veteran vendors, seasoned by countless cycles, learned to balance gifts with human connection, ensuring relationships sustain them beyond simple transactions, granting them a slight buffer against fate's whims. Yet daring to defy this unofficial toll was high stakes, a gamble few could make. Those who refused to play the game often found themselves cast aside, their carts overturned, their goods left to spoil under the unforgiving sun. Defiance was a costly luxury. The market was resilient because it was self-maintaining, offering swift retribution to those who miscalculated. Stories of rebellious vendors became modern parables, lessons in the unwritten rulebook dictating who survived the brutal marketplace. Without accepting the bribe economy, success was nothing more than a fleeting illusion. Amid this facade of fairness, a peculiar irony reigned. Inspectors overlooked discrepancies in weights and measures for a price, breeding skepticism among customers. Yet amidst the underhanded exchanges, some vendors cultivated reputations for honesty, leveraging their standing to build customer loyalty. It was this delicate balance between integrity and deception that allowed many to endure the economic storm as they wove through Carthage's turbulent commercial landscape. Within this vibrant ecosystem, trust was its own currency. It changed hands in whispered assurances and knowing glances exchanged over marketplace stalls. To navigate the web of favours and promises, vendors harness trust like a lifeline, each alliance carrying both risk and reward, protection, preferential treatment, immunity from unwanted scrutiny. The savvy among them adapted to this social economy, using it to pave unseen pathways to prosperity, constructing invisible bridges that link them to shared fortunes amidst the unpredictability of street trade. Despite the perceived stability bribes provided, they came with a darker undercurrent. Personal vendettas emerged, and ancient grievances turned the inspectors into willing instruments of personal animosity. For vendors, rivalries were traps waiting to be sprung, a product of human nature clashing with centuries-old grudges. Within this intricate web, fallen competitors meant fewer to fight for the day's limited customers. Yet igniting such conflicts required cautious deliberation. Unseen forces of superstition and legacy hovered like ancient spectres in a world where every act was both a step forward and a risk. Understanding the market required decoding layers of cultural nuance. Each transaction carried a story, a line in an uncharted script of commerce. Vendors mastered the rhythm of this unwritten language, noting subtle shifts in tone and whispered decrees. They lived within intervals, marking the staccato of precarious fortunes. With time, they crafted a lexicon of trade, passing whispered intentions like ancient sacred text, passing this understanding to apprentices, binding past to present, and surviving through shared wisdom. Discretion became a vendor's greatest ally. Only those who navigated the market with humility survived its perils. They knew when to disappear into anonymity, using humility to blend into the throng. Triumphs were understated, profit hidden beneath veils of modest humility. The true victor moved quietly, sidestepping the pitfalls that swallowed the boastful and indiscreet. Observation, not confrontation, provided strength, a reality taught through countless days of hidden drama. As the sun sank and the market's din faded, vendors surveyed their day's effort with a bitter sense of achievement. Despite the grind of bending to inspectors' whims, there was beauty in the shared experience and absurdity of their struggles. Carthage's harsh sun saw life's brutality and beauty walk hand in hand, crafting chronicles of survival, neither solemn nor joyful, but irrevocably human. In the bustling streets of ancient Carthage, life is a relentless cycle of struggle and opportunity, fear and hope. Religious festivals, eagerly anticipated by citizens, shine as beacons of potential amidst the daily grind. These events are not only a spectacle of faith, but also a lifeline for street vendors who count on the influx of eager crowds. Vendors prepare meticulously, doubling their stock in anticipation of selling out to festival goers eager to relinquish their coins for divine blessings. The air is thick with the aromas of roasting meats and the chorus of hymns, creating an intoxicating atmosphere that lifts the city beyond its harsh realities, even if only temporarily. But beneath the joyous facade, competition is fierce, as each vendor vies for the best spots, driven by the primal need to outshine their neighbours. Stories of success intermingle with tales of failure. Some vendors close the day with profits jangling in their pockets, whereas others watch helplessly as their goods spoil under the unrelenting sun. Each festival is a gamble, driven by celestial fortune and earthly desires. In this theatre of life, food takes on symbolic weight. Dates symbolise prosperity, while figs are harbingers of fertility, and vendors leverage these meanings to drive sales. The marketplace becomes a grand stage where barter and banter play out against a backdrop of incense-laden air. Vendors and patrons locked in a dance of commerce that transcends mere transaction. This is ritual. A mutual understanding blooms between buyer and seller, a quiet pact as sacred as any prayer. Yet as the sun dips below the horizon, this fleeting unity dissolves. Vendors are left tallying unsold stock, and the reality of survival reasserts itself. The festival's only a respite, a brief lull before the storm of taxation. Once the festival lights fade, a shadow looms larger. Tax day. The anticipation shifts from cheer to trepidation as tax collectors, wielding power and authority, descend to claim their due. These officials, keepers of the city's coffers, ensure Carthage thrives, fueled by the hard-earned coins of its vendors. Compliance is not merely a civic responsibility, but a survival imperative, a precarious balance maintained by meticulous records and the fear of retribution. As profits are siphoned away by the state's insatiable appetite, vendors feel the sting of their place in this ancient economic machine. Yet, Carthaginian vendors are known for their resourcefulness, meeting these challenges with a blend of cunning and cleverness. They navigate the hazardous terrain of evasion, playing cat and mouse with tax collectors. Strategies range from the ingenious to the audacious. False bottoms in carts, ledger swapping in dark alleys, or simply outweight the most diligent inspectors. These acts of rebellion are not merely about wealth, but about reclaiming autonomy and agency in a system that seeks to drain them of both. Amongst the throng, alliances form, acting as a lifeline in times of intense scrutiny. The market whispers form a network of trust, a covert symphony of vendors united by shared knowledge and survival instinct. Many vendors walk the knife edge between fortune and ruin, juggling the allure of immediate profit with the weight of accumulating debt. They borrow from wealthier merchants, stakes always mounting as loans become lifelines, transforming moment-to-moment survival into a precarious dance with destiny. The market is a chessboard, each move a step toward elusive success or ignominious defeat. In this world of uncertainty, some manage to thrive. A few vendors with keen intuition and nimble tactics learn to master the cycle of scarcity and abundance. Their dance with the taxman becomes a calculated performance, leveraging alliances and carefully timed evasions to navigate the intricate web of Carthaginian commerce. These successful few become legend in the market, embodying the alchemy of turning temple feast profits into lasting stability. Their understanding of market dynamics mirrors an art form, a seamless weaving of human psyche and economic acuity. Yet for every triumph, a bitter irony remains. Temple offerings, seen as acts of devotion, sit side by side with the demands of civic duty. Tokens intended for divine honour circle back as fiscal demands, blurring lines between faith and finance, sacred and mundane. A paradox that vendors endure with silent fortitude. Through these trials, vendors articulate their reality, a lament etched in the duality between hopes offered to the divine and tributes extracted by bureaucracy. Their resolve is woven into the city's fabric, a legacy of resilience carved by time and persistence. In the end, the vendor's life is a microcosm, a reflection of human endurance against the elements of prosperity and adversity. They carry dreams not only of surviving the marketplace, but of glimpsing a future free from the shackles of relentless taxation. It's a whispered vision beneath ancient colonnades, a hope that may one day echo beyond merely surviving to truly thriving, etched into the tapestry of Carthage's eternal narrative. In the bustling markets of ancient Carthage, where survival meant mastering the art of deception, vendors found themselves caught in a dance as intricate as any spun by the gods. With limited means and the relentless pace of spoilage hovering like a spectre, they had to disguise spoiled goods skillfully. A bruised melon would be rotated to hide its flaws, and loaves of bread with dubious scents could be masked with fragrant herbs. These tactics were not born out of malice but necessity. For street vendors, the fine line between starvation and ethical compromise was their daily tightrope. The appearance of goods was crucial. Vendors needed to dress wilted lettuce in dew and sunlight, transforming potential waste into something seemingly fit for a noble's table. Yet beneath this facade lay a haunting truth known well to those peddling their wares. Spoilage was not just a nuisance, but an ever-present threat, like a wolf at the gates. Throughout the day, vendors balanced the inevitability of decay with the fragile trust of their customers. Every apple, grape or loaf became a ticking time bomb, with disease lurking in every bruised peel and cracked crust. For many, this thin veneer of health was all that stood between them and destitution. Even as they sold, they shared in the risk, aware that their wares might return to haunt them through angry patrons or whispered curses in the crowded alleys. Each new dawn brought a gamble. Setting up their stalls, vendors hoped their goods could outlast the sun's arc. With no refrigeration or modern preservatives, fresh produce was as fleeting as dawn mist. Assessing edibility became a skill honed over years of sharp bargaining and early risings, relying on touch, smell and sight. Even the most seasoned vendor couldn't predict the onset of rot, leaving patrons to play their part in this daily gamble. Bargaining for a lower price became not just a matter of frugality, but an unwritten acknowledgement of shared risk. Both knew that even as they dealt in whispers about tomorrow's meals, the table bore potential discord or disease. In a world devoid of modern medical understanding, foodborne illnesses were an accepted risk of market fare. Consuming a spoiled date or tainted cheese could lead to days of suffering. Yet, amid this peril, vendors often turned to ritualistic beliefs to shield themselves and others from the dreaded maladies fermenting in their goods. Silent prayers before the market opened or talismans hung near the stalls were common practices, blurring lines between practicality and superstition. Even when accountability was whispered, the unseen dance between vendor and illness remained a silent contract, the expected terms rarely spoken aloud. For street vendors, reputation was the greatest currency. In a trade as volatile as the Mediterranean weather, a vendor's name could draw customers like bees to time-roasted figs. Customers would soon return, if satisfied, trusting the vendor to provide quality without warranty. Yet reputations were delicate. A single spoiled transaction could tarnish a name in the marketplace's gossip-riddled networks. Vendors had to balance establishing trust and engaging in subtle trickery with charm and resilience, sometimes spinning grand tales to mask goods' latent flaws. But once earned, trust became a shield against dissatisfaction and rumour. Cleanliness and disease prevention often fell to superstition over hygiene. The market bustled with whispers of medicinal myths and folk remedies, crafting intricate webs of pseudo-medical practices to counteract spoilage's latent threats. Vendors adopted a myriad of precautions, some grounded in tradition, others buoyed by new faith. Herbs like oregano and garlic, believed to ward off disease, took on mythic proportions, while salt was scattered as a guard against illness. These rituals served as placeholders for practical understanding, bridging the gap left by a lack of medical insight. The city's vibrant festival calendar, offered both challenges and opportunities for spoilage management. During festivals, when streets teemed with revellers, demand for food skyrocketed, allowing vendors to push aging stock. Yet with heightened sales followed an increase in perishables. Festivals also fostered collaboration among vendors, who shared unsold stock under mutually beneficial arrangements. Clever merchants seized these opportunities to strengthen their market presence and counter the potential for waste. In the bustling alleys of Carthage, unnoticed scavengers played a crucial role in spoilage's ecosystem. Human scavengers and local animals, feeding on market waste, provided essential sanitation services, reducing spoilage-related refuse. Tolerated by vendors, they became the market's underprivileged custodians, maintaining an unofficial equilibrium and reducing spoilage-related threats. Vendors face the daily dilemma of what to do with unsold stock. Some products could be refashioned. Yesterday's bread turned into breadcrumbs or aged olive paste into new blends. This inventiveness spoke to their survival instinct, with buyers participating in this mutual deceit. The goods of one day became the hope of the next. Finally, vendors would whisper prayers and offer sacrifices to the divine, looking for preservation and blessing. With rituals meant to draw divine attention, they believed good fortune could favour their offerings, bridging a gap wider than any scientific void. Day after day, the sun creeping over the hills, vendors rose to challenge spoilage with ingenuity, wit, and determination to sustain their trades amidst the market's chaos. They crafted careful displays, their lives woven into Carthaginian life as unsung custodians and bards of the ancient marketplace, a testament to human tenacity and inventiveness, defiantly greeting another day under the sun's relentless gaze. The whispers of war began as a quiet murmur in the early morning, drifting like smoke through the bustling market houses of Carthage. An air of unease settled over the traders as they huddled in tight groups, furtively exchanging worried looks. Ships rumoured to be tarred black for war dotted the horizon while soldiers trained grimly beyond the city walls. War, that insatiable beast, spoke in many tones, but hungered for a single, relentless sacrifice. Among the vendors who thrived on the morning exchange of news, these whispers seeded the fear of scarcity. Memories of Carthage's mighty fleet and iron-willed generals could only chill the heart so far. True anxiety stirred with the looming shadow of conflict, threatening to reshape tomorrow's realities. Scarcity, when it arrived, did so quietly, slipping into daily life like an unwanted guest. Once vibrant displays of goods, a tapestry of imported wonders, were reduced to thin strands. Ships that brought the world to Carthage's doorstep were delayed or stopped altogether, victims of intercepted paths or uncertain diplomacy. Vendors started rationing olive oil by the ladle and counted figs as precious as gold coins. Desperation fed innovation, as each transaction morphed into a negotiation rooted in survival, household items often replacing traditional currency. The market transformed into a subdued arena of bartered essentials, where tension replaced the lively echoes of bustling trade. War's heavy hand spread into the city's economy like a creeping fog, ensuring today's wants would only multiply the hunger of tomorrow. Yet the most unsettling shift was in the faces, or lack thereof. Regular patrons, the backbone of daily routine, vanished as if air itself had swallowed them. Familiar interactions over goods and haggling disappeared into the eerie quiet of a ghost market. Suspicion weighted the air, wariness in every glance, as families withdrew, preparing for siege rather than transaction. With each passing day, the marketplace where relationships bloomed became barren ground, whispers of conflict disrupting the lifeblood of trade. As scarcity tightened its grip, prices behaved as if immune to gravity, rising with relentless inevitability. Yesterday's abundance turned into today's expensive commodity. Grapes and wheat, oil and salt, once common, now treasures of desperation. Each sale brought a dilemma, a balance struck between maintaining profit and grappling with ethics. Survival instincts warred with moral imperatives, each decision weighing the needs of the one against the community. Panic spread easily among those feeling the economic squeeze, trust between customer and vendor thinning with every uneasy exchange. In this economic battle, even as survival became the rule of engagement, there was little room for greed. The trials didn't end there. The war absorbed everything, bending commerce to its will. Vendors unaccustomed to military demands found themselves trading under the steely eyes of officers who ordered as if offerings to the gods. What little bartering remained was replaced by requisitions, supplies commandeered for the nation's warriors. Civilians, caught in the shifting sands of this war economy, found themselves edged out, their needs whispered beneath the clamour of armaments and militias. In the shadows of this upheaval, clandestine markets emerged. As official supplies dwindled, the hidden economy blossomed, fed by desperation and need. Down discreet alleys, where the city's glow faltered, transactions took on a furtive nature. Here, goods deemed precious exchanged hands with silent understanding, secrecy imbuing each deal with the allure of rebellion against the sanctioned order. This undercurrent of commerce buzzed with a life of its own, unhindered by the day's constraints and oblivious to the soldier's stern gaze. Yet caution shadowed every move, a quiet predator in this new and dangerous dance. In the countryside, the war's reach corrupted the noble simplicity of agriculture. Grain lords emerged, their silos fortified like castles against marauding thieves and speculators. Harvests, once shared freely with kin and neighbour, became contested prizes in stratagems driven by wartime hunger. Carthage's granaries groaned under demands of an army needing sustenance as urgently as it needed weaponry. Each sack of grain in your cart bore the weight of conflict, roaming through a land where loyalties shifted as the wind. What was once a simple pastoral exchange now resonated with rumour and intrigue. Fields turned battlefields without a drop of blood in sight. Navigating this merciless landscape, survival became a testament to human resilience. Each morning, as stalls reopened, vendors welcomed another day of struggle. The market, chaotic yet familial, weathered these storms with a determination that both defied and defined them. In every transaction remained a flicker of the ordinary, a whisper of triumph over adversity shared between vendor and client. When finally the market succumbed to the siege of scarcity, salvation lay within the shadows of the temples. These sacred spaces became the refuge where vendors scavenged the remnants of prosperity, reimagining commerce as acts of supplication to the divine. Beneath towering columns, the city's beating heart continued to thrum, merging the familiar rhythm of trade with the echoing prayers for deliverance. Even as Carthage stood on the brink, its whispers growing louder with every passing day, the market endured with stories yet untold, the desperate yet enduring pulse of survival. If you found this journey through ancient Carthage captivating, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating tales woven through the fabric of history.